Welcome back, my friends. It is January 6th, 2019, 8:58 p.m., and we're looking at the current temperature chart right now, and it looks like we got a little bit of a mild situation going on, basically from Texas across to the Carolinas almost. It's still a little chilly in the Carolinas. Don't let that fool you guys. We have, as of right now, this hour, 15 different states with winter weather advisories. That includes California. So any places you see this blue color, those are winter weather advisories. We do have a system moving in from the west we've been talking about. That's going to cause and is causing a mess for the upper northern states, especially the Midwest, and eventually coming very soon, as in the next 7 days, we have a system coming in from the bottom here that's going to cross Texas and then end up being a situation where we may have a snow winter storm in the southern states. That includes South Carolina, believe it or not. So we're talking South Carolina, North Carolina, Virginia, West Virginia, parts of Tennessee and Kentucky, and that's going to include the Chesapeake Bay, and that has nothing to do with this system that is currently crossing over. It's kind of exiting North Dakota now, more so over Minnesota and Wisconsin as it's making its way across the Great Lakes. That will be going on through Tuesday, and then starting Tuesday is when the Northeast will be able to experience some of this weather here. Now, how much of that snow we're going to see is not quite accurate yet. I don't want to make any predictions on that. All I know is what I can show you. So, where's this all coming from? Well, you could see it right here. A lot of this moisture is the reason. You could see up here is the dense moisture. This is the system that we are currently dealing with over the Great Lakes, which will make its way to the Northeast by Tuesday. And then down here is the beginning. Once again, there's that refresh. Then, as you see down here, this system is what is going to eventually come through Texas, possibly bring a significant amount of rain to portions of Texas, which I'll show you in a little bit. But the main point here is that this system is going to make its way over the southeastern states, and then by the time it gets right here, we could be looking at a dip in the jet stream that is going to put the potential for a winter storm in South Carolina, North Carolina, Virginia, West Virginia, and that's going to include the Chesapeake Bay and even possibly southern parts of New Jersey and southeastern parts of Pennsylvania. And then after that passes out into the ocean, there's a second low pressure system that is showing wind gusts that are going to really put the Outer Banks not so much out of commission, but let's just say you're not going to want to be there when this happens. So let's get into that. First, let's talk about what's going to happen between now and Tuesday. Now, you can see here, winter storm, Sunday night, that's tonight. Slippery spots and travel delays. You can see where the snow line is, where it meets the rain and sleet mix here, and then mainly rain below as we get towards Chicago area. As this moves across the Great Lakes, though, we're going to be dealing with a lower dip in the jet stream, so more of this area is going to become snow. As we check out tropical tidbits, we could see we are at the farthest in time backwards we can go, and you can see that that system is currently over North Dakota, making its way into Minnesota, but it's a fairly quickly moving system. So as you can see, the next 12 hours after that, you're going to see the snow starting to cover areas of Wisconsin as we get closer to the Great Lakes, and then underneath it in Iowa and Missouri, we're going to start to see that rain as the low pressure behind it is pushing it forward. And then as we move forward into Tuesday, you see the Great Lakes getting their snow, lake effect snow. If it's cold enough, again, another rain band stripping down all the way into Missouri, possibly the northern areas of Arkansas. And then we move forward into more forward into Tuesday, we could see how the Northeast is kind of up in the air. We could definitely see Vermont, New Hampshire, Maine, and mostly Massachusetts underneath that blue snow situation. And then we got the pinks for our mix there, and then more rain. But the second part of this system is what's going to be interesting. So I want you to pay attention here because it's very similar to what's going to happen down in the south in about 7 days from now. So between now and Tuesday, we have this to deal with. And then as this starts to pass off into the ocean, you're going to see a second round right there. That low pressure system reading 999 on January 9th. That is Wednesday. That's what's going to pull the possibility of snow back around the Great Lakes into Pennsylvania and southern New York. So we may see snow on Tuesday for the first round in the upper North states, Vermont, New Hampshire, Maine, upstate New York, including Massachusetts. And then as that first little part of the system passes, the second part then covers the southern areas of the Northeast. So that's going to be pretty interesting to watch. But what I feel is more important right now is what's coming very shortly after. As you can see, the low pressure builds up down here as we showed in this chart here. You can already see it moving in from the Pacific. Let's get back to tropical tidbits, and then watch what happens with this low pressure system. Very interesting stuff here. This is going to move across Texas. I pulled up our 5-day moisture chart, and you could see how the system is being registered over Texas. It's going to dump a lot of rain. But as we move forward, watch what happens to these southern states, guys. It's going to be very interesting. Potential severe weather there in Texas, by the way. As we move into January 12th, you see snow already in Virginia, a little bit in North Carolina. We see a lot of saturation going on in the southeast, which is what they don't need. They're going to have a little bit of a break over the next couple days, but it's followed by another system. And then as we move into the 13th and the 14th, things get really crazy. West Virginia, Virginia, North Carolina, and then just like we saw here, there's two rounds of this. One hits, and then the back end of it, I'm sorry guys, comes back around and brings more snow in. But check out the low pressure here and how tight these rings are. The outer banks are going to be extremely windy if this system takes shape the way it's showing right now. And as it moves out into the Atlantic, check this out. Look at the states that are covered right now. We got North Carolina, Virginia, West Virginia, and then this low pressure system here right by the outer banks. Those tight rings right there, boom, there you go. See how small these rings are? The more condensed these rings are, the higher wind rates we have with a central low pressure of 997, guys. That is very powerful. When we're dealing with hurricanes, we always look for a number under 1,000 before we start considering tropical depressions. That is not one of these situations, being that we are in the winter months, but it still packs those winds, and the Outer Banks, being those strip islands, could really deal with a lot of issues because of this. And then if you look closely, guys, look what state is covered in snow right now. That is North Carolina right there, along with Virginia. And then we move it out, and you can see how it kind of takes the shape of a hurricane. It's pretty crazy. But this is moving in the other direction. So let's back that up. We'll take a look at it really quick again. Basically just a heads up to you guys that live in the Carolinas, West Virginia, Virginia, southern Pennsylvania, and then all the way down into Georgia and South Carolina even. We'll see some severe weather from this, if not even snow possibly. You can see here a little strip of snow in that rain mix in North Carolina. And then once again, let's get to these lines here. Boom, right there, I want to say, is going to be when you really want to focus on, especially if you live on the coast, the wind and the surf advisories, which will be Monday, January 14th. Now, we do have room for head movement there, so it could come quicker. It may come later. Either way, it is a situation to talk about. But when you see rings this close together, guys, all you should think in your head is very heavy winds. So, again, those of you that live in the Outer Banks or anywhere in this region for that matter, please keep an eye on this at least through next Tuesday until we can either give an all clear or prepare for this to be a winter storm more towards the south than the north. So, in conclusion, basically, we got in the next couple days the system moving over the northeast after it makes its damage along the Great Lakes. And then shortly after that, guys, a big system causing severe weather in Texas, Louisiana. It's going to also pull right through Mississippi and Alabama with that severe part of the system. A little bit of rain in Florida, possibly, hopefully not too much. But then once we hit the 13th, guys, 13th through the 15th is going to be a very interesting time for all these states here. So basically a heads up, if you guys know who I'm talking about. Miss you, bud. And that's what I got for you for now. I do have an update on some of these earthquakes going on. There is so much shaking going on, guys, that I can't even keep up with it. That's why I'm glad we have a lot of channels out there that are strictly dedicated to seismic movement, but we have a lot to talk about. But this is first of a few videos for the night. Hope everyone's having a good night, by the way, and I'll be back shortly with some more. Take care. Bye-bye.